Good evening and welcome. We were just commenting how wonderful it is to have a packed house full of Bobcats, and we love that. And tonight is one of our favorite times of the year where we get to celebrate the accomplishments of our Bobcats, our high school students who have been able to achieve at the state level. We'll do that in just a few minutes. We have a little bit of business we need to take care of, and we always start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'm going to call on our Vice Commander for the American Legion to come down front, and before he gives the pledge, Mr. Jackson, if you'll share the news that you have from the House of Representatives.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, City Council, citizens of Radford, we received word this weekend that the Navy Cross that the late John Ripley was awarded in 1972 has been passed through the House to be upgraded to an award of the Medal of Honor. Hopefully, this will be cleared by the Senate later this week or on in the month. This has been a process of 54 years to accomplish. Numerous petitions, letters to congressmen, not just from individuals, but from numerous veterans organizations, the American Legion, VFW, Fleet Reserve Association, Marine Corps League, and others. As this award is going to be processed, obviously he'll be the only man, as of right now, in the history of the city of Radford to receive this decoration. And only the 6th in all the history of Southwest Virginia. More news, of course, will be following. We don't know yet where the ceremony will be. Personally, I would hope it could be here in Radford. But it could be up at the Naval Academy, where he's buried. I only have one regret, and that this couldn't be done in his lifetime. But I guess we have to say better late than never. But a Radford man has now been upgraded to be one of the greatest heroes of the Vietnam War.
Vice Commander, thank you so much for sharing that information with us. Will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Thank you again for sharing that wonderful information. We'll have more information for you as it continues to unfold, and that's fantastic news for John Ripley, obviously, in posterity, for Mr. Ripley's family, and all the veteran community in the Radford and the New River Valley and across the nation. This time, we'll ask that you join us in a moment of silence. You can use this time for silent prayer, for reflection, to prepare for the meeting, or however you choose. Thank you very much. Council, you all have the minutes from the February...
Mr. Mayor, can I interrupt you? I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda for this evening. I'd like the agenda to include a resolution to signify the city as a Second Amendment sanctuary city.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll begin the discussion. I would prefer that we schedule that for a future meeting if we do want to consider it. Having said that, I don't think any of us have had an opportunity to really talk through what that means. We had this come up in 2019 to the council, and there were a number of serious concerns that took place with that. As such, there's a process for dealing with laws that we feel are unconstitutional. There's a process for dealing with situations at the state and federal level to go through. Virginia is a Dillon Rule state, and as such, we cannot adopt measures saying we will or won't do something against state law. I guess we can continue to talk about this later in the agenda when we get to it. I would prefer that we hold this for a future meeting rather than to do it this evening.
I would prefer to go ahead with it.
Is there any other commentary?
Would it be moved to new business for discussion? Is that where it would?
Well, that's where it would have to be, is new business.
For discussion?
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Okay, it will be under new business. Council members, you all have the minutes from the February 9th meeting. Are there any amendments to those minutes, or do we have a motion to approve as submitted? We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? At this time, we'll open the floor for citizen comments on public matters. If you have something you'd like to share with folks, please come down to the podium. Please use the microphone, state your name for the record. Keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Are we able to fix the clock so that folks can see? Okay. And it will appear right up here on the clock above us.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mario Ortez, and I'm Assistant Professor of Agribusiness and Entrepreneurship at Virginia Tech. I am here to share some exciting news. I have a group of students that are working on a financial analysis for a new dairy manufacturing facility, possibly to be located in the old foundry site. So we really hope that this is an opportunity, one, for our students to practice their great skills in finance and agriculture that they learn at Virginia Tech, but also an opportunity for economic development for this great city of Radford. So that will be it for me. I appreciate the time.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's very exciting news, and we're excited to see the outcome of your class work. Or is there anyone else that has additional comments for the record? Can you reset that one?
Can you hear me okay?
Well, give us just a second to reset your
Okay.
time.
I don't think I'll need 3 minutes, but okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And first of all, I'll say, I didn't tell Guy I was going to do this, so he's probably a little surprised. My name is Connie Wolford. I was born in Radford, and I've lived here most of my life. I want to request that the city adopt a resolution to make the city of Radford a Second Amendment sanctuary. First off, that would honor the United States Constitution, of which you all are sworn to uphold. I strongly believe that our community is safer when it's not just the bad guys who have guns. Our families are safer when the good guys are armed as well. Also, being a Second Amendment sanctuary would act as a deterrent to crime, especially for armed criminals. It seems logical to me that that would be what we would all want for our citizens. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else with any comments for the public record?
Hi.
Are you able to fix it? I'll just do it from here. We need to get that fixed.
Or not, I won't take long.
Okay.
I have not prepared anything. My name is Mary Sims. I've lived in this beautiful city for over 30 years. I think in this time in history, it's time for our cities and our counties and our towns to stand up, not only in Virginia, but across the nation, and just say, stop. We need to calm down. We need to quit passing laws that don't make any sense. So I'm asking y'all, pass this information that you made tonight and make us a 2A city, not necessarily because of a rifle or a pistol, but because we live underneath a Constitution. A lot of people died for that Constitution, including one fine man from Radford who's going to get a new medal. Let's remember that. Take care of your city. Take care of your people. The decisions y'all make here impact a lot of people. Stand up against Richmond. Thank you.
Are there any other comments for the public record? Seeing none, we will close this portion of the meeting, and we will move on to our business this evening. Now, we did have a proclamation planned for Mr. John Asbury. He was recently recognized as a Business Person of the Year by Virginia Business Magazine. He certainly is well deserving of this achievement. The Asbury family is having some challenges at this point in time, and we are going to table that until a future meeting when they are perhaps able to join us and to participate in the process. But we do want to say congratulations once again to John Asbury on this wonderful accomplishment. He truly represents Radford incredibly well. The school board and the city council have established a plan that we started a couple years ago to recognize sports and activity awards from the fall of each year for each of the previous 6 months of activity. And so we would be recognizing those sports and other activities, including things like the yearbook and drama and debate when those take place, from July through December, which are state-level successes. We have proclamations this evening that recognize championships, outstanding achievements, and awards from the fall through December. And we will move forward from there. So, Kelly, you have our first proclamation for our volleyball team.
I was number one.
So were they.
Well, yeah. Excuse me. My voice is not normal. City of Radford proclamation, Radford High School volleyball. Whereas achieving a state championship is a remarkable accomplishment worthy of recognition, and whereas the Radford High School volleyball team qualifies for the Region 2C volleyball tournament with an overall season record of 25-1, and whereas the Radford High School volleyball team started the Region 2C volleyball tournament with a quarterfinal win over Dan River High School on November 3rd, 2025, with a score of 3-0. And whereas the Radford High School volleyball team continued the tournament with a semifinal win over Glenver High School on November 6, 2025, with a score of 3-0. And whereas the Radford High School volleyball team closed out the Regional 2C volleyball tournament as champions with a win over Appomattox High School on November 11, 2025, with a score of 3-2. And whereas with a clean sweep of the 2025 Region 2C volleyball tournament, the Radford High School volleyball team qualified for the 2025 Virginia High School State Class 2A Girls Volleyball Championship Tournament to be held on November 15th through November 22nd, 2025. And whereas the Radford High School volleyball team started the Virginia High School State Class 2A Championship Tournament by defeating Central Wise High School by a score of 3-1, which was followed up by a 3-0 win over John Battle High School. And whereas the Lady Bobcats would then close out the Virginia High School State Class 2A Championship Tournament with a 3-1 win over Fort Defiance High School, crowning the Radford High School girls volleyball team of 2025 Virginia High School League Class 2A State Champions. And whereas Karen Adams was named Coach of the Year and Maddox Adams named Player of the Year. And whereas Maddox Adams, Jalen Holt, and Brianna Dobbins were all named VHSL Class 2A First Team All-State, and Lillian Joyce was named VHSL Class 2A Second Team All-State. And now, therefore, it be proclaimed, the Radford City Council commends and congratulates the players and coaching staff of the 2025 state champion Radford High School volleyball team for these great accomplishments.
For a resolution, do we have a second? A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Congratulations. Come on down.
Sorry, I forgot.
We do have more proclamations to share. Guy, I believe you have one for us as well.
City of Radford proclamation, Radford High School football. Whereas Radford High School has long enjoyed great success in football throughout the years, and whereas the Radford High School football team members and coaches continue to work diligently to compete and improve, and whereas in 2025, the Radford High School football team advanced to region semifinals, and whereas VHSL Class II first team All-State recognition goes to the defensive back Pace Prelo, and VHSL Class II second team recognizes linebacker Cole Martin. Now therefore, we, the City Council of Radford, Virginia, do hereby offer the highest congratulations to the 2025 Radford High School football team and coaches for these distinguished accomplishments, making the City of Radford very proud. Congratulations.
Congratulations. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations. Come on down. Jesse has one more proclamation for our cross-country team.
Radford proclamation, Radford High School Girls Cross Country. Whereas the 2025 Radford High School Girls Varsity Cross Country team was made up of Abigail Castleberry, Aubrey Fuller, Lily Hyatt, Sophie Watson, Olivia Close, Caroline Gibbs, Cora Mosby, Macy Fenton, Camille Hidalgo, Annabelle Schindler. Whereas the Radford High School Girls Cross Country team showed endurance and perseverance while competing in several meets throughout the cross-country season, including first place at Three Rivers District Regionals, where Cora Mosby took first place and Abigail Castleberry took second. And whereas the team also placed second in Region 2C Championship, with Abigail Castleberry finishing first, and whereas Radford competed in the VHSL Class II Championships in Salem, Virginia, finishing overall in fourth place, with Cora Mosby placing fourth. And now, therefore, we, the City Council of Radford, Virginia, do hereby offer the highest congratulations to the 2025 Radford High School Girls Cross Country team and their coaches for this distinguished accomplishment, making the city of Radford very proud. I'd like to make a motion that we accept this proclamation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Congratulations. Let's bring down our cross-country students.
No.
Yeah, I gave
Thank you.
On the next meeting, we have a championship.
I know.
Wrestler, swims, diver.
That's fantastic.
Working
Keep
on
going.
Basketball.
Keep going. Let's have one more round of applause for our Bobcats. This is one of the best times of the year where we get to recognize those students and the coaches and faculty and staff and all the folks who make this possible. So congratulations, Bobcats, and go Radford. We have so many more good things to come. Okay, Council, moving on to new business, we do need to look at the RTW transit contract. Section 11 of the Transit Service Provider Contract breaks down the insurance requirements between RTW and the City of Radford. RTW's insurer has requested adjustments in the coverage. As owners of the buses, the primary auto liability falls onto the city. The general liability insurance will need to be maintained to respond to the actions of management and employees. For example, an issue with the bus, a problem with a piece of equipment, that's on the city. With the employees, the drivers, people like that, that is on RTW. And so Mike Bedsall, our city attorney who's here this evening, and Versa, the Virginia Risk Sharing Association, have worked with RTW Insurance to ensure all insurance requirements have been met. Mike, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Just to be real specific, I think that, RTW's insurer, I think, the understanding was at the time the original transit agreement was put in place was that because the city, because you may recall that when the city issued an RFP for these services, that you had basically two different proposals, one in which RTW provided the insurance on the buses and one in which the city did. And the city elected to go with the one in which the city would maintain the insurance because it was a cheaper proposal at the time. And the agreement was put in place and the original insurance provisions didn't seem to be an issue. However, apparently RTW's insurer at this point feels like the language needs to be clarified to make it clear that at least for driving operations, that the city's insurance is the primary insurance in the event of an accident because that's the owner of the vehicle that would be involved in the accident. And that RTW's insurance would only apply, has, say, excess coverage over and above the limits of the city's insurance. Does that make sense? I think, that was, Melissa can remark on this as well, but I think that was the understanding at the time that the original agreement was put in place, but I think that RTW's insurer feels like maybe the language isn't as firm as it should be, and that was the purpose of this amendment, was to tighten that up somewhat.
So this amendment also includes if a driver or some other issue were taking place, would the city's insurance still be the primary insurance? For example, if a driver violates policy, law, things like that, or would that still fall under the city's insurance?
The city's insurance would be primary if it involved driving the bus.
Right.
Let's say, for example, that, you had, say, for example, a situation whereby, say, the driver is supposed to, say, inform individuals that ride the bus that they've got to say hold on to a bar there in case they would slip off a seat and fall or something like that, and the bus driver and they fall or slip and fall, say, in the flooring of the bus, and the driver didn't alert someone to, say, a spill of water that was on, the bus floor, they fall, they hurt themselves, that wouldn't relate to driving the bus. So that's a situation in which RTW's insurance may apply to, that may fall under RTW's general commercial liability insurance. If, for example, RTW also operates, say, a facility where the buses are worked on. Let's say there was some hazard there where they work on the buses and a FedEx delivery guy was delivering a package and got hurt. Well, that's not going to fall under the city's insurance. That should fall under RTW's commercial general liability insurance. But if it involves, say, an accident in which, due to the negligence of RTW's driver that while driving the bus, they hit another car, then the city's insurance is primary because that's the owner of the bus. For any claims over and above the city's insurance, then RTW's insurance would apply because it's their employee that is driving the bus. Does that give you several examples that may help?
Are there any other questions?
And what I'm essentially asking you to do is that, because Melissa and I have sent this to RTW, and we've not heard final responses back as to some of the changes that were made. And a couple of the changes were requested by the city's insurer, Versa, because we've been corresponding with them on this. So I'm going to ask you to approve the amendment and authorize the city manager, Todd, to take any additional action, as may be necessary to accomplish the purposes of the motion, including signing the amendment once agreed to.
But what you're saying is we could have substantive changes to this before it's actually signed, correct?
Could be. And if there were, we could bring it back to council if you would prefer that. But sometimes it will be a small change.
How about this? I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the city manager to execute the contract as long as there are no substantive changes per the discretion of our attorney, Mike Bedsall, with the contract when it's returned to us. Do we have a second?
That's fine.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you very much. Council, we have 3 appropriation ordinances that we need to take a look at, and what we'll do is read all 3 and then consider them all at once. 1802.33 in the amount of $647,798 is the Radford Sheriff's Office, in partnership with New River Valley Community Services, established a Crisis Intervention Team Access Center program to assist persons experiencing a mental health crisis throughout the New River Valley. The program is fully funded through an allocation from the Commonwealth of Virginia General Fund and other sources, and the city has no financial obligation for this program. So that's $647,798 for the fiscal year 25 CIT grant. Now, this is an ordinance we're going back and redoing, correct? Thank you very much. We have found several ordinances that were not brought before council that we needed to make sure that we went back and took care of. So this is for the fiscal year that ended in June. Excuse me. Appropriation Ordinance 1802.34 in the amount of $332,588, the VDOT State of Good Repair funding to pave Main Street arterial streets within the city. As part of these projects, crosswalks, ADA ramps must be upgraded to new standards. We approved this project previously. The work has been completed, so we are appropriating the money for it now. It is $332,588. And then finally, Appropriation Ordinance 1815.32 in the amount of $6,321. The Radford Fire and EMS would like to purchase the following items on the For Life program: 3 laryngioscopes for the use of intubation of patients. The life-saving procedure is used during cardiac arrest and other medical calls where a patient's airway is compromised. So, council, do you all have any questions regarding these AOs? Do we have a motion to approve all 3?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have had 4 affirmative votes, so we can dispense with a second reading as so desired. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have amended our agenda this evening to have a discussion about Second Amendment sanctuary resolutions. So, Guy, you brought it up. What would you like to share with us?
Well, I'll just read the resolution. Resolution for the city council. Thank you. Designating Radford as a Second Amendment sanctuary city. Whereas the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and whereas the United States Supreme Court in District of Columbia versus Heller 554 U.S. 570 in 2008 affirmed an individual's right to possess firearms unconnected with service in a militia for traditionally lawful purposes such as self-defense within the home, and whereas the United States Supreme Court in McDonald versus Chicago 561 U.S. 742 in the year 2010 affirmed that the right of an individual to keep and bear arms as set forth in the Second Amendment incorporated by the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment and is therefore enforceable against states. And whereas the United States Supreme Court in United States versus Miller 307 U.S. 174 1939 opined that firearms that are part of the ordinary military equipment or with use that could contribute to the common defense are protected by the Second Amendment. And whereas Article 1, Section 13 of the Constitution of Virginia provides that a well-regulated militia composed of the body of the people trained to arms is proper, natural, and safe defense of a free state. Therefore, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And whereas the Radford City Council wishes to express its deep commitment to the rights of all citizens of the city to keep and bear arms, and further wishes to express its intent to stand as a city in support of the Second Amendment rights and to oppose within the limits of the Constitution of the United States and the Commonwealth of Virginia any efforts to unconstitutionally restrict such rights and to use such legal means at its disposal to protect the rights of the citizens of the city of Radford to keep and bear arms. Therefore, be it resolved this 23rd day of February 2026 that the members of the Radford City Council at a duly constituted meeting declares its intent to oppose any infringement on the right of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms and expresses its intent to uphold the Second Amendment rights of the citizens of the city of Radford in that no public funds of the city may be used to restrict the guarantees of the Second Amendment nor to aid federal, state, or local agencies in any effort to restrict these rights. I move for the adoption of this resolution.
First, we're having a discussion before we have a call for a motion, so.
We can still discuss, because he did make a motion. I'll
Okay.
second the motion, and then
Okay.
open it for discussion.
Sure, motion and a second. Any discussion?
So I can start. I will say I'm very equal opportunity on this. When we had folks come and ask to be a sanctuary city for people who were here illegally, I voted no on that measure too. I will vote no on this measure. And we all have our personal views on it. That aside, what I will not do is ask our law enforcement to go against the laws as they are currently on the books. So I will say no to any of these things, either side of the aisle. It's not a political issue for me at this juncture as much as it is an enforcement issue.
Is there other conversation?
Yeah, I'll just acknowledge that I fully support the designation of Radford as a Second Amendment sanctuary city, but I do acknowledge that state law supersedes any local ordinance, and this resolution, like many of the resolutions that we pass here, is symbolic in nature. So I do want to say that, and I personally do appreciate some of the common sense gun law measures, but I fully support the Second Amendment and all amendments of the Constitution. So that is my stance on this.
And I also did a little research with AI and Google, and it told me that 95% of the political jurisdictions in Virginia have passed these resolutions. So seems like a popular thing to do.
Any further discussion?
I'm still not asking our law enforcement to go against the law.
Well, I don't think anybody's asking them to go against the law.
I think we'll be getting into a political debate on that, and I'm going to refrain from that because, again, this is not a political issue for me personally as much as it is one of common sense in regards to how it's one thing in your thought process, but then to actually have to execute is a different measure, and that would fall on our law enforcement. And I do believe that that puts them in an unfair position, being that they are sworn to uphold the law.
Any further discussion? Well, I'll share my thoughts. I started to share a little bit about this. When I was first running for office, one of the things that was brought up was immigration Second Amendment or immigration sanctuary status. I don't think that is the appropriate action to take when someone is concerned about the Constitution or a right for a very important reason. First of all, well, a number of reasons. The city of Radford operates within the Commonwealth of Virginia's Dillon Rule system, which means we only have the powers to be able to do what the state authorizes us to do. And so as such, we are not a home rule community. Virginia is not a home rule state, which means that the localities could do more of what they want to do. By stating this, we send a message to the General Assembly that we are violating that Dillon Rule piece, much as if we disagreed with the tax or disagreed with another law that might be passed in Richmond. There is a process to go through if someone disagrees with those laws. Whether it's on immigration, we actually had some people approach us several years ago when Roe versus Wade was overturned to become an abortion sanctuary in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I don't support those efforts because I don't think that's the right way to address it. Now, if we were discussing tonight, do we uphold the Constitution and the Bill of Rights? Do we uphold the Constitution of Virginia? Absolutely, without a doubt. I'm not looking to infringe on anyone's rights. However, in the Heller decision that you mentioned, Justice Scalia even said that, like most rights, the Second Amendment right is not unlimited. It's not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever in any manner whatsoever and for whatever purpose. So when we talk about this in terms of a Second Amendment sanctuary where we would not recognize laws at the state level, that's an extremely slippery slope. In fact, right now there's a law, two proposed bills in the House Bill 40 and House Bill 323, that are about ghost guns. We're having a problem in the city of Radford with people carrying unregistered, unserialized, untraceable guns, and this is directly designed to deal with that. Our law enforcement community does have several $100,000 in grants that it's received to deal with guns within the city of Radford. Saying we're not going to enforce laws or we're not going to ask our police to work with the state to enforce laws could jeopardize that funding. All of these are potential outcomes. While we may say, oh, it's a harmless resolution, it's just a symbolic act, I would much rather, if we were interested in a symbolic act, is to do what we did in 2019, where we sent letters to our delegate, to our senator, to the attorney general, and to the governor that stated, and I actually have a copy of the letter, hundreds of citizens and guests joined our proceedings to share their views on issues that are incredibly important in their lives, namely guns, safety, and individual rights. We had 27 citizens express their concerns, but that number represented many additional people who were not able to speak that evening. As mayor of the city, I feel it's my duty to represent their voices by sharing the content of our meeting and encourage you to consider their concerns and thoughts as you proceed during the upcoming legislative session. Enclosed are the recordings of the meeting, which we included from the December 9th, 2019 meeting, with the voices of the citizens expressing their concerns, and for some, I would say fears. We've also included written statements from those who submitted them, as well as statements from our city council members that evening. I asked them to please take time to review these items and seriously listen to their statements, as I feel they will be enlightening and help you process the many difficult issues that await you during the upcoming session. This is indeed a challenging task. You have many concerned that law-abiding citizens would lose their rights and could even be labeled as felons as certain bills make their way through the legislative process. Many are also concerned about their ability to live and work safely and what life in the future will look like in the Commonwealth. There are a multitude of problems before you that require solutions that do not damage the rights of Virginians and help to make their lives safe from those who would seek violent acts. Each of us, both locally and at the state level, have taken an oath to support and uphold the constitutions of the United States and Commonwealth of Virginia. Any laws passed must be able to pass the test of being constitutional, or they cannot work in Radford or throughout the Commonwealth. To do otherwise would be unacceptable. As proud citizens of the city of Radford, Virginia, the United States, we hold these rights protected by these documents to be the framework of our freedoms and are incredibly valuable. As you represent the citizens of the city of Radford, we ask you keep their voices in your mind as you make decisions on their behalf. So that was a message that we sent to those in the state. It doesn't put us in a position where we're telling folks not to enforce laws, which we cannot do. It doesn't put us in a position to imply that someone may come to Radford in violation of those laws and there would be no consequence, as sanctuary can be implied to do. In fact, from some of the things I've read online, some people were saying, gee, it concerns me that I could carry a certain weapon up to the bridge, but if I crossed over, Radford would hold me accountable, as though this resolution would tell them something different. So what I would propose is, instead of this Second Amendment sanctuary resolution, that we consider a resolution that we could put together for a future meeting that upholds the deep commitment of the constitutions of Virginia and the U.S., the deep commitment to the Bill of Rights and all rights of citizens of Virginia and the United States, and a letter similar to this that expresses the concerns, because I think we've heard from citizens both for and against this issue.
But there is a motion and a second, so we will have to vote.
I understand that. I'm still having discussion.
Okay, well then you can propose yours as well.
No, I know that. I'm still going through the conversation right now.
Absolutely.
You know, I think we could have done this a little differently had we had a chance to put it on the agenda prior to the start of the meeting, to let people know that this was going to happen so they could come voice their opinion one way or another. And what I would ask is that we not rush to do this, but that we simply consider what we're doing and make a decision if there are other ways to send a message as we move forward. Is there any further discussion on this issue? Okay? As none, we have a motion and a second. Melissa, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Artrip,
Yes.
Mrs. Foster,
No.
Mr. Gillespie,
Yes.
Mr. Wolford,
Yes.
Mayor Horton.
No. So there we go. Todd, what do you have for us this evening?
Just a quick update. We did receive our shipment of salt in full, so we have over 300 tons of salt in storage, ready for the next storm. Second thing, the budgeting process has started. Trish and I started meeting with department heads today to start reviewing the expenditure side of the budget, and there are certain sections of the revenue side that are coming into focus. Lots of progress has been made in the last couple of weeks. Had a question from a resident. It's the same question we've had since last summer when I started with the city about solar panels and net metering. One of the key pieces that we need to comment further on that is the rate study. And within the last 2 weeks, that rate study is nearing completion. So we have that. I think we can provide some information about net metering and solar panels. And finally, sorry. And finally, I've been asked to clarify the procurement process for the forensic audit. And so if I can, for just a minute or two, I'd like to talk about that and what the Virginia Public Procurement Act requires of us. So the Virginia Public Procurement Act, otherwise known as VPPA, what it requires when you're procuring for professional services, which this is, the city has to issue an RFP. That's a request for proposals. But as part of that process, we cannot discuss pricing. The firms have to be ranked according to their qualifications. Once they've been ranked, you can begin negotiations with your top-ranked firm. And if you can't come to some sort of, that's when you can discuss price, is when you're negotiating with your top-ranked firm. If you can't come to an agreement on price and negotiations have ceased with the top-ranked firm, then you go to the second-ranked and then the third-ranked and so on. But But pricing cannot be discussed, details cannot be discussed of those proposals because it would benefit the second-ranked firm, the third-ranked firm, if they knew what the top-ranked had proposed and their pricing. So we can't give any information publicly until we conclude the process. Once the process is completed, all information can be made public, but only after the contract has been awarded. So I just ask for everyone's patience. We are working through the process, and I expect that negotiations will conclude in the coming weeks, and we'll be able to award a contract if it's the will of council to do so. So just wanted to answer a few questions, and if council has any questions about the procurement process or anything that you're receiving from the public, just let me know, and I'd be more than glad to answer.
Thank you, Todd.
All right.
Kelly, what do you have for us this evening?
I am losing my voice, so I will keep it short. I didn't get to comment on what we just voted on because I'm trying to keep it short, but I did do a lot of research. I did talk to police officers and people that are a lot smarter than me in that, and I have my own personal opinions, and I do support, upholding the Constitution and things that are written in there. So I understand what you're saying. I hear everybody's point, but I am in support of it, and I did do a lot of back and forth talking to everybody from both sides, and that was my decision. Congratulations to all of the Bobcats that came out. You guys are amazing, and I can't wait to continue to see what you guys accomplish in 2026. I had a joint commission meeting. They were doing a housing summit to let local property managers and landlords know that there will be a roughly 300 unhoused students for 2026. So if you have a property that could house some RU students, or if you're wanting to use your Airbnb as a long-term place for them to stay, you're welcome to do that. We talked a little bit about Community Fest and how excited we are about that. We're going to increase our vendors. 2025, we had 104 vendors. This year, we're going to hopefully have 140. We're going to have a really good mix and try to make sure we have all different kinds of vendors. And I think we're going to have 3 bands instead of 4, and then a community stage for local bands. So that's exciting. There's discussion of putting an outfitter at RU that will be accessible to the public, so more to come on that. And we're continuing having discussions on how RU can help sponsor some of our parks and recreational things, so we're thankful for their support. And that's all I have for this evening.
Jesse, what do you have?
Well, I would like to share how proud I am of our Bobcats. They excel in athletics, but also in the classroom, so I'm just extremely, extremely proud of them. In regards to meetings I've had, you're going to hear this a lot, Tribute to Heroes meeting. We are meeting with great regularity with the Rotary, and I think this year will be even better than last, which I wasn't sure that'd be possible because everyone really come to the table with a lot of effort, but they have even grander plans. So be looking for the flags out in front of Glencoe. I also had a Heritage Foundation meeting, and we want to remind everyone to check in on us regularly. This isn't a one and done. We have different exhibits that are always being offered, as well as now we are carrying the RU wear. So get your hat, your umbrella, your sweatshirt right at Glencoe. I know, yeah, we're excited about that. And Kelly and I actually had an amphitheater meeting where we talked about processes and RFPs and some of what what you're hearing us talk about tonight, so we are somewhat familiar with that. A program that I wanted to bring up and I thought might be important to add to our website, it's called NRV Thrive, and I'll just read very briefly what it stands for and what it offers. The NRV Food Assistance Directory lists details on 65-plus food assistance programs located in the counties of Floyd, Giles, Montgomery, Pulaski, as well as the city of Radford. So I think this would be just a great resource for our community right now. So I'll be passing that along. I also will be putting some out front, so if anyone needs one of these flyers personally that has a little QR code for greater ease of use, they'll be out there. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Seth, what do you have?
I think I'll echo what everyone's already said. I think all of our favorite meetings are when we get to celebrate the Bobcats, and they always give us a lot to celebrate. So, and to Jesse's point, it's not just on the athletic fields, but also in the classroom. They excel in everywhere they go, and we love to highlight that success. Todd, one other question, and I was going to ask you during your comments, but I know that we had talked about the surplus vehicles sales update. Could you could you give us a kind of an update on that? I know that we were kind of working through that, but something we were kind of hoping to see a little bit of revenue from.
Yeah, so the last discussion I had with the department director in charge of that, it was approximately 2-3 weeks ago, and he said they were they have enough training to begin the process.
Okay.
So I expect them to be advertised on GovDeals in the coming weeks, but I will revisit that with him this week.
Roughly how many, I can't remember in my notes, roughly how many vehicles we were looking at with that?
If we take out the fire truck, I believe it was 4 or 5 vehicles, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
That's a rough.
Transit is separate, and you have done the surplus of those buses, and it is out for auction, and so I apologize, outside of Public Works, but those are out for auction, and will close at the beginning of March.
How will those funds be dispersed? Will it be a split between the city and the university?
Well, it depends on how much we bring in. If a certain over a certain amount, we have to pay back the federal government since they paid for the most of it, and then we look at the division of the remainder.
I knew it was kind of handled a little bit different, so, okay.
And just to speak to that a little bit further, the holdup initially was training on GovDeals, getting our staff. They had to get, I believe, a representative to give them training from GovDeals. They had to come in. Melissa, I know you helped facilitate that, but they're fully trained up on it. I know we had the weather event. I'm not, looking to make excuses for that or anything, but they had the weather event. Public Works is handling this. And it's my understanding that they should be able to get those up and advertised on GovDeals in the coming weeks.
You mean you guys have had a lot to do lately?
Yes.
No, I appreciate the update. I know you've been working on it, and there's a lot of things in the list, so I just wanted to get a brief update on that.
I'll keep everyone updated.
Awesome, thank you. The meeting I had was the Rec Commission, and I did want to share some news that I was very happy. Ameriprise has donated the cost that it would be to replace to get the community garden back up, because it was not, backstory on that is it was not redeemable through Hurricane Helene and FEMA because we don't technically own that land. So I wanted to give a big shout out to the team at Ameriprise for stepping up and doing that. They are going to cover the full cost to get that fixed. I know that that is highly, highly utilized by several of our residents, so that's good news. And then they also, we talked briefly, and I think that they'd like to talk with Todd and get with us a little bit because it seems far away, but it's not, but the 4th of July celebration, and kind of get that back on our radars on, what we're going to look to do and start having that discussion. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Guy, what do you have?
Well, again, just to lift up our city school system and all that our athletes do. We're so proud of them. Kudos. Keep up the good work. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I'll echo everyone else talking about our Bobcats. We are so proud of everything that the Bobcats do, whether it's in the classroom, on the athletic field, the way they conduct themselves, and the way they move forward. We really do appreciate the hard work that it takes to achieve at that level. Radford is a smaller school system and certainly works hard and sees results at an incredibly high level, and so it's always good to recognize them. One of the things we've tried to do over the years with council is to recognize the different groups and businesses, different activities throughout the city, because highlighting those things hopefully helps raise the awareness and helps move us forward as a community. one of the things that we have really tried to do is to be as transparent as possible. The fact that you're watching us on streaming, if you are, is one of the initiatives that this council put together to make sure that everything that we conducted business-wise was publicized, that we streamed. I am disappointed that the decision was made to push forward with something this evening that we didn't more fully publicize, because I think it's important to let folks know what's being considered and give all opinions a chance to participate. But, you know, votes are votes, and people can choose to vote the way that they do. There is a process to doing things. That's somewhat of my point. Just as we follow Robert's Rules of Order, there's a process for the state, there's a process for the federal government to deal with laws as they are passed. There's a process to deal with them if there's a concern that they might not be constitutional or they infringe upon the rights of an individual. I'm disappointed when we make a decision as a community to circumvent that process through a resolution. I fully support our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. I support legal gun ownership. I support the rights of every citizen of Radford, the Commonwealth, and the nation. What I don't like to do is to do something that is not good policy and is not a good process. And I feel like we saw a little bit of all of that tonight, unfortunately. But again, things can be done by votes. Robert's Rules of Order, things can be done in a certain way, and votes are votes, and that's all you can do. I would like to make it clear, I know members of our media are here, I do fully support our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, and I would be more than happy to send a message to Richmond that says anything that violates the rights of a Virginia citizen, a Radford resident, or anyone in the United States is unacceptable and should not be moved forward with. That's always a decision for debate on whether a law does that, and that's why we have a process to go through the Supreme Court of Virginia and the Supreme Court of the United States. Having said that, we do have some other business we need to take care of this evening. And there'll be much more to discuss as we move forward, because as you heard, we're talking about the procurement for audit services. We're talking about a variety of things. Todd, one of the things we have not finished, I don't believe, is gotten together the full calendar for the budget and publicized that. I think we need to get that finalized and get that out to everybody so that they'll know when we're having budget discussions and what meetings they can participate in as part of that. Can we try to get that done as soon as possible?
Yes. Has anyone on council reviewed the calendar, and if so, are there any conflicts with what's currently on there? If there are no conflicts, I think we can finalize it and get it out.
Finalized and get that out. Send it out to everybody one more time, just in case, and then we'll get that publicized. We'll put that on the city's website and social media, because we're coming up on that quickly.
Yes.
And go from there. We do need to move into closed session to address a couple of issues. So as such, you are welcome to wait, and we'll come back together after we're through. But Seth, if you'll take us into closed session.
I sure will. I'd like to make a motion to convene a closed meeting for the discussion of the award of public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically to discuss forensic audit proposals, Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A29, in consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel. Nothing in this subdivision shall be constructed to permit the closure of a meeting merely because an attorney representing the public body is in attendance or is consulted in a matter, specifically to discuss resolution of claim by debtor following bankruptcy discharge, 2.2-3711A8.
We have a motion to move into closed session. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we are now in closed session.